And for more on this, we're joined now by the CEO of the Executive Council of Australian Jury, Alex Ryvchin. Alex, thanks so much for coming in this morning. What's your reaction to this rally that was held outside of New South Wales Parliament yesterday?
Look, it's a grotesque spectacle that will shock Australians. It's an affront to what we are as a nation, to our values, to our democracy. And it's deeply confronting to see that there are people in our country that look at Nazism, the most ghastly period of human history, which denotes the destruction of democracy, the destruction of people, the implementation of racial hierarchies, and look at that with joy and nostalgia and want to bring it to our wonderful country. And, you know, it's easy to dismiss these people as being outliers and a minority and lowlifes, and they're all of those things, but they're also potentially dangerous. We've seen around the world groups like this or individuals loosely affiliated to them carry out acts of mass violence. So we need to be extremely vigilant, and we need to be unified in combating this threat.
The New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, says that the government is looking whether police need more powers to prevent such events. Is that something you would like to see?
Well, certainly we want to see the police with the powers they need to disrupt and observe and surveil these people and to keep Australians safe. And whether those powers are currently in place or a review needs to be conducted to determine whether new laws or amendments are necessary, I think that's a process that needs to take place. But it begins with a political will, and I think the Premier has very clearly, unequivocally demonstrated his absolute determination to rid our society of this evil. And then it's for the police to determine whether they have the powers to do so. But we've seen over the last 2 years police resources grossly overstretched by professional protesters that have cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars and diverted the eye of the police in certain cases. So that's going to have consequences. But hopefully we're moving to a phase where these protests wind down and they can refocus on this present threat before us.
What do you make of the fact that police are saying this is a communication error, that this has been able to happen?
Look, errors happen, and again, when you have resources stretched to that extent and the police have been inundated with applications for protest by professional protesters every single week for 2 years, these sorts of things will occur. But they shouldn't occur, they can't be allowed to occur, and I think it's entirely appropriate for the Premier, for the Police Minister and for the police to together work out what resources they need to ensure that Australians are kept safe from this menace.
Can you give us a sense of the impact on the community of a rally like this being held and those images being seen?
Look, we've faced so much over the last 2 years, it's difficult to be shocked. We've had Iranian terror plots targeting our community, we've had burning synagogues, cars, attacks on childcare centres, thousands of incidents of anti-Semitism, the rise of all forms of extremism, of the left, of the right, religious extremism. So we're not shocked, but at the same time, you know, we're a Holocaust survivor community, and to have members of our community who suffered the horrors of Nazism and their children and grandchildren have to look at that outside our state parliament, it's deeply shocking. But really, I think it should shock not merely our community, but all of Australians. And it says something about where we've gotten to as a country. These sorts of groups don't come out of nowhere. They sense a moment, they pick their opportunities, and they've clearly identified that social cohesion is so degraded in our society. So many conspiracy theories about the Jews abound already, because particularly over the last couple of years, and they've seized that opportunity. And we need to be stronger than they are, more determined than they are, and defeat them.
Alex Ryvchin, CEO of the Executive Council of the Australian Jury, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.